It's an attitude, a motivation, a deep-seated spirit. It's an inner strength to keep your feet planted firmly on the ground, no matter what presses against you. It's self-confidence. It's belief. It's a way of life. It's Fezek Athletics. Shop now at www.fezekeathletics.com to get your fitness gear now. Conquer your physique.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you may be listening to this. This is the Men of Honor Podcast, episode 17. I'm Rock, and I'm here with my brothers, Greg and Frank. How y'all doing this evening, fellas?
I'm doing all right.
Hurting.
In this crazy time that we're in.
Hurting?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I want to say, it's sponsored by Fezek. You can't forget that. But, we all thrown off right now, man. Let's just jump right into it. Jacob Blake, 29-year-old black man in Wisconsin. What's the name of that city? Kenosha or something like that.
Kenosha, yeah.
Yeah. Was shot in his back 7 times. The last report I heard, which his father was actually speaking, he's alive, but he's currently paralyzed.
From the waist down, right?
From the waist down, yeah. Man, this shit makes me want to cry. Makes me want to go out and it just emotions is just all everywhere. I'm afraid for myself. I'm afraid for my children. I'm afraid for y'all. I'm afraid for my brother. Anybody, any black person, and particularly black males, I'm terrified. One of y'all go ahead, man, and start, man. I just can't even find the words right now.
Go ahead, Frank.
Okay.
For me, when I saw the video, I don't know. Just the procedures just that look wrong. And I'm not a cop, so I don't pretend to be one, and I don't play one on TV. But he's following them. He walks past the door, and the cop's following behind him, and he's at the door when he's trying to open it up. So if you're trying to keep somebody from doing something, you can just lean on the car door. He can't get in the door. Now, hey, yo, let's get. I'm assuming it was more than one. I know I saw 2 officers.
Yeah, it was 2.
I seen reports that was it only 2?
Then I seen the black one come in after. Then I seen the female one come in.
Yeah. I think the female was there first.
Okay.
She was in the back.
Okay.
But my thing is, at that point, lean on the car door. It's enough of you to just grab him, put him on the ground, and arrest him at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you are following him around, he's about to give you something, and then when he opens the door, you grabbing his shirt and you just unload 7 times. You ain't load once just to get him to stop. Oh, hey, bro, you're reaching for it. I'm gonna have to shoot you. It's just pop, done. And I'm just bro, why'd you even let him open the door? Because if he can't open the door, he's not a lethal threat, and you don't know what he's going to get anyway. And the kids are in the car. When I heard that, I'm like, what if one of those bullets ricochet hit one of the kids? Dude, what is going on here? Was it that deep for that to happen? It's very upsetting. It's very upsetting. That's all. I don't know. I don't even know what else to say.
I've heard stories these cops are intimidated, but that's not intimidation. To me, this, normally I try, I know I cuss, but I try to keep from cussing, but this shit is intentional, man. like their first thought is, like you say, is not to detain them like with cuffs or restrain them. It's to pull out your gun and shoot. Not once, but 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
7 times. Like this guy, like he had, like I guess, like if he had a gun, okay, but his back is to you. He's walking away from you. He didn't have like they're trying to say he had a knife. Didn't see that. What's the threat? What's the threat that calls for you to discharge your firearm and fire 7 shots into a person, into their back, nonetheless, which they're not supposed to do, unless I don't know, unless this person is going to cause harm to somebody else. But I don't even know if that's the case. I mean, but I was always under the impression they're not supposed to shoot you in the back. And this isn't the first one. There's been several other cases. The gentleman who got killed in Atlanta, he got shot in the back. Then there was another case of, it's just
in North Carolina.
Yeah, I forgot his name is Walter. Something I forget his name.
But here's the thing, like the reports coming out, like they tased him twice. So if he tased twice and he still got up, like, well, when you tase him, why didn't you put him in handcuffs then?
Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about Blake. Like he was tased before. Like I was me and Rock were talking before, and we don't know when the video got cut on or when the whole video. I don't know if we've seen it or is that just when that person took that angle of that phone. Like, you know what I'm saying? So at that time, we miss everything else that happened prior to that. From reports is that they tased him. He got up and started walking away. And it's like, well, once you tase him, why ain't you guys if it's 4 officers there at that point when you tase him, whether he wanted to get up or not, why aren't y'all like grabbing his arms and legs, putting and restraining him? Then he walks away and he's not paralyzed. I mean, I don't know.
So the cops were called because there was a fight, and he was the one breaking it up, right?
That's another misnomer. I heard 911 call. 911 call had him named in it. So,
but I'm saying that it was called because it was a fight, or was it called because
the call said that he had the keys to a car.
So basically, it was a fight that he had the keys to a car.
Yeah, it was like a fight between females, and he was probably involved, and he was holding keys from somebody.
So I don't know exactly what. That's the only thing I heard. I was like, named his name, Jacob Blake, and I'm like, all right, so what is going on here? And the cops aren't wearing body cams, so you can't see anything or know anything that's really going on until that phone video hits. And then after that, from that phone video hits when he comes around the car, it's just like this cop following him instead of just, I don't know. It's frustrating. None of this stuff should have happened. That's all I can say. It shouldn't have happened. It should have been handled better.
We got our fellow brother Erik Toscano joined us. Bro, we delving into this Jacob Blake shooting, man, and getting thoughts on that. Do you, Frank, you want to go, or you want to either go, or you want to close it out?
He can go.
Go ahead, jump right in it, bro. Well, first of all, how you doing this evening, bro? How you making out?
I'm tired. I just got in from work, so I literally that's why I was late. As far as what has transpired over the last couple of days and what we've been seeing,
period.
Well,
400 plus years, brother.
Well, we're talking about just this year alone so far, and what's been happening is just a disgrace. I don't have anything really to say. I mean, what can you say? Like, what can you say? Like, what is there to say other than I think the word here now is to try to educate if there is any kind of education at this point. What do we do as a people to try to educate other people and other races to make sure that stuff like this doesn't continue? And how do you prevent? Because obviously there's a lack of training, there's a lack of understanding, there's a lack of education. It starts from within the households. I believe it starts within the families, with your kids and how you raise your children, explaining them how the do's and the don'ts. But I think it's really is in the heartland of how you start in your household and how you raise your children, and understand that it's just not a black and white issue. We're human beings. Like, to me, it's just a human being thing. And yes, this is a tragedy that has been happening to black Americans for years, and for more than that should have been. And it's a shame that stuff like this has to continue to happen in order for it to be recognized on TV and all this media outlets. And I don't really have a lot to say, because I'm just like in awe to see stuff like this happen. I just hope and pray that whatever the outcome that happens going forward, that we educate ourselves, we teach other people, we make them understand that this can't continue, that there is an end result to all of this, to make sure that at the end of the day that, yes, Black Lives Matter, Brown Lives Matter, but most important, we're human beings, that, a man was shot in front of his family, and people are getting away with murder in America with the responsibility to uphold and protect the law. And things of this nature shouldn't be where, oh, well, a person was walking down the street with a gun and he got away with it, versus a man who didn't have a gun and got shot in his back. At the end of the day, this is a father that has kids. And if it was me, you, Greg, Frank, we all are fathers. We have kids. We have families. It didn't matter, whether or not it could have been Joe, it could have been anybody else. We got families, and now we got this man who's in the hospital, paralyzed because he got shot in the back for no reason whatsoever. It doesn't matter whether his criminal background or whatever. People try to find the silver lining or whatever lining that you can look for to try to pinpoint the fact. It doesn't justify the fact. It doesn't justify the fact. And there's going to be a lot of anger. There's going to be a lot of frustration. There's going to be a lot of people wanting justice. There's going to be a lot of uprising, a lot of who knows what's going to transpire. Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen after this. This could be worse than George Floyd. Who knows if there's going to be more burning and looting or whatever. I don't know. I pray that there is a solution. But I also understand that if there is an uprising and if there is more looting and the revolutions, because what do you do? What do you really do? Like, what do you really say? Like, at what point do you draw the line? Like, what is it going to have to take before
blood?
Something is before there's justice. Like, is it going to be bloodshed? Like, I hate to say this, but it's going to get to a point where we're going to have to start shooting cops. Like, is that because there was a point at one time in the 90s where there was, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a point in the 90s where cops, there was cop killers. There was cop killing going on. And that as much as we didn't want to see that, there was people killing cops. And that was a huge ordeal. And Trump, no matter what Trump tries to say, he wants to release the National Guard. Okay, you can release the National Guard or the military on human.
But they're not trained to do anything. All they do is train to stand there.
Civilians, but you best believe that if you try to do that, there's going to be more. You can release the military on the people all you want.
I think in Wisconsin they did call in the National Guard.
The National Guard, right. But my thing is, no matter what you do, there's always going to be more and more people than there is going to be more and more of the law. I guarantee if you had more people that there's going to be more people in guns than there is in military, no matter what. However you think about it, there is more of the other than there is the other. We have more people in civilians than there is the law. The law is trained, but there's definitely a whole lot more people with guns than there is police and law. It's just the way it is. But we don't need to see more of this. We need to just get to a point where, at least to be able to come to a conclusion in a way to where it's, and like somebody's got to come to the round table and be like, yo, this is not right, and like solidify something where y'all, this is not the way to live life. You can't walk around with fear. You can't have your kids walk around with fear. You can't go to school and have these racial profilings going on. It's just not fair, whether you're black, brown, Asian, Jew. It's either way you look at it, it's an injustice that's happening in America. This is supposed to be the land of the free, the opportunity of people that come from different countries to start and to do things differently, and to try to build something for their families. And yet you come over here and you see black Americans get killed, or brown Americans get killed, or whoever gets killed that are not white. And you say to yourself, is this really the opportunity? Is this really what I came here for? You strike fear. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that needs to continue. And I hope and I pray that there is a solution. And I pray that we don't see no more bloodshed. I feel like it's going to come to that. I know that there's a lot of anger. Like I said earlier, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be upset. There's going to be a lot of people that are looking for justice. And I pray that the justice is suitable and it's supposed to be what it's supposed to be done. But I got a feeling that it's not going to be that. And I pray that if it's not that way, we'll stand by, because there's going to be a lot of, like Frank said, there's going to be bloodshed. Yeah. And the first step of this, I feel like the first step in this direction is the sports. Taking a step back with sports and everybody just not doing anything, and just kind of just making this the headline and making sure that, forget about sports, forget about everything else, and let's just concentrate on just trying to figure out what to do with this. Yeah. How do you stop this? Like, NBA, baseball, football, like completely shut down the whole sports in general until somebody comes to a conclusion and say, hey, look, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that one. Yeah, we're gonna get into that one. Yeah,
we got an issue. And I don't want to take too much time, because I know Frank has a lot to say, but I want you guys to understand. I've seen this for my perspective on this. I've seen profile from different angles, in many different ways, shapes, or forms. And when I tell you, I've seen it firsthand in many situations. This is probably the worst act of racism I've seen in my life. And I'm 45 years old.
You talking about throughout this year, right?
No,
like with the George Floyd.
In my whole life. I've seen stuff.
There's nothing worse than Rodney King. Watching that,
Rodney King was bad. Rodney King was bad because it was
I would say George Floyd, because Rodney King didn't lose his life.
This is another level.
But there's literally 10. I can't remember how many tops there were.
It
was like, they jumped them. They beat them.
King, like that's watching that. You know what I mean? There's a difference between watching a 2-minute clip or a 1-minute clip of, I can't breathe, and then he ends up dying. Like there was no fight. Like Rodney was literally like fighting for his life, and people was actually watching that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Between.
Well, they watched George Floyd for 8 minutes and 46 seconds die too. Like
when you've seen so many different levels of people getting killed on various occasions, you got to think about how many people have died over the past 2 years, 3 years.
Breonna Taylor shot in her home.
It's been all these different occasions of black people getting killed, and still no kind of repercussions for cops getting arrested or anything. I gotta say, this tops the Rodney King situation for me. This is my opinion. For me, maybe for you it's not different, but for me, this is just bad. Either way, it's just bad all the way around. Like there's no high or low gray area. No matter what you look at it. It's racism across the board. It's just wrong. It's just wrong in every sense of the word. And I just pray that it ends in a very political and justifiable way without nobody getting killed. But the bottom line is, man, I kind of see it on the horizon that it's just things are going to escalate if things don't get nipped in the bud really, really quick and really, really fast. If this shit doesn't stop, you know what I mean, like quick, because I could see this turning into something super quick and super fast in the next like 5 days. You know what I mean? Like it's just gonna be like all hell's gonna break loose.
All right, Frank.
Go ahead, Frankie, you got it.
I mean, when this happened yesterday?
No,
No.
day before yesterday. Tuesday.
Tuesday, right?
Tuesday.
So, I mean, first off, I want to start off. Me starting that day, it was already a down day for me because it was my mentor. It was the one guy that I looked up to for, basketball. It's why I played it. It's why I trained. It's why I was trying to be better every single day was Kobe, and I was already fighting that day, trying to not watch anything, seeing people post things. And it's to this day, it's still shocking to me to see him, to know that he's passed away with his daughter. It was very tough for me for that day, and to see that another black man die. I think it was that same day or that following day. Or was it on the same day?
What?
Blake.
Oh, he didn't die. He got shot.
He got shot.
Yeah.
He's paralyzed.
He's paralyzed.
Okay, he got shot that Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Already dealing with the Kobe situation, I get news of another black man dying without his cause or being, at risk. It's like
shot, Frank. Don't say die. I don't want to.
Or shot, you know what I mean? Shot. It's like there's no words to explain what's going on in today's society and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to a guy earlier, I think yesterday, I forgot his name, but he used to play baseball, but he was pretty much saying there's no difference between the 60s and today. The only difference is that we have cell phones. You know what I mean? So imagine if we had cell phones and watching what was going on in the 60s.
And even before then, the 50s, even before, you're
you
right.
Know what I mean? Like that's where we're at right now. And to get back to what Greg and E said, this whole agenda is to put fear into black kids to fear one race. That's what this whole thing is about. This whole thing is to put fear into those kids that he had in those cars. They're gonna be mentally, they might need help, seeing that,
Counseling, yeah.
George Floyd's daughter might need help, the other guy from Atlanta, his 5-6 kids that he has that they gotta watch, once they get a certain age and they watch to see how their father died. Like this stuff is still going on today. What it was going back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. It's to put fear into African Americans on one race. This is what this whole thing's about, man. Like there's no way, like I was telling Rock, there's no way you should be pulling out a gun. You have 2 cops there already. There's guys the same size as me, same weight as me, not a threat. Why are you drawing your gun out? Like there's
I want to cut you off, but I don't even like that narrative. Like same size, like it don't matter if he was 6'4", 250.
Yeah, but there's a difference between if I'm fighting somebody and I'm fearful for my life. If I'm fighting somebody, I'm fearful for my life, and I know this dude's bigger than me. We always talk. If he's bigger than you, grab something. I mean, that's just the fight. So me being a cop and being in a cop shoot, like if he's bigger than me, if he's, you know what I mean, you take him, you try to disable him so where you can handcuff him and
that's why you got the tasers and all that other stuff.
You know what I mean? But this
not your gun. Don't discharge your gun.
Yeah, I don't know the whole story and anything like that, but by the clip of me seeing that, it put a hole in my heart, and I was just like, I had to wake up, text my kids, I text you guys, And I was just like, man, like you never what's his name? The guy from ESPN, the white guy, what's his name?
Which one?
To be with Shaq
Oh,
and
Ernie Johnson.
Ernie, said
Hey,
like,
TNT.
yeah, what Ernie said when he was talking about the situation, it was like, we are not promised, tomorrow, like we're not promised the next day. So we gotta treat people with respect
Mm-hmm.
as we want it as well. You know what I mean? And
It's in the Bible, man. Treat
we need
others
to
as you
Pretty
want to be
figure
much.
treated.
out.
Hmm.
They need to figure out. I don't say they need to figure out. I'm just going straight to. It's going to have to be I hate to say this, but it's going to have to be bloodshed. It's the only way. From Nat Turner, it's the only way, man. It's the only way to get this handled. Like, because we can't march anymore, we can't protest anymore. It, I don't know, man. I'm lost for words right now,
I think we
and
all are, man. I mean,
and and it's putting fear. I know it's putting fear in my kids, like to
it's putting fear in me. So, like, I
like
know it's putting fear in the kids. Like, because our kids look at us like, superheroes. Like, and I'm sure his kids probably looked at him like that. That's my dad. Like, and then to see him shot like that, like I can't even imagine
yeah, I can't
seeing
imagine.
seeing my
I couldn't.
father.
My father, y'all, my
Yeah, like I
friends,
just
like
can't imagine. I'm just speaking on it as a kid and seeing your father.
yeah,
Like to me, like, and Frank, your dad was in the Marines too. Like
mm-hmm,
I looked at them like they was just like superheroes. Like it's like
mm-hmm,
these dudes is they can't. They're the strongest of the strong.
yeah,
Not saying the other arm. I'm just saying just how I looked at him.
mm-hmm,
And if we out and he gets pulled, like come on, man, domestic issues happen everywhere. So and then to see him who's not threatening get shot, man. Like
yeah. It's heartbreaking, man. This whole year for 2020 has been
this shit suck
a.
with the COVID, with this. It's just Kobe.
It's a lot of
like,
things. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things coming to light. I hate to say that it's all coming at once, but this is something that it's always been there. Is now coming to light where people of all races are seeing it now.
yeah.
I'll say this: it's an opportunity, though.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opportunity to see if, like, if if people in this country wanted to be what it was quote unquote founded to be,
Mm-hmm.
and now they can see for what it is, because like everybody said, like this stuff has always been going on. It just now is being filmed,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just a point of now you're seeing it. It's like when somebody thinks like, oh, I ain't got nothing wrong with my house, but then they find they got an infestation or somewhere. But now you're
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
seeing it. Either you could fix it and get somebody, an exterminator to come in and you could fix it and make it better. You know what I'm saying? Or you could just, hey, look, it is what it is. And then you just going, like as he said, you just want to watch it crumble. You're just going to watch it just get worse and worse for no apparent reason other than it's something you can control to actually like make it better. You know what I mean? So
I mean, if for the kids, it's
it,
gonna
it's
be
a
it's gonna be tough for the kids because now cop, what I mean, when the kids see that and they don't even understand. Some kids don't even understand racism. They don't. They just see a white cop killing a black kid, so they're already angry. You know what I mean? Just like when we were
mm,
growing up, we couldn't watch certain movies because we got angry, right? And so we
mm,
got actually knowledge of it, and we got more enlightened on it. We're like, okay, now we understand it now. You know what I mean? We can watch it and understand. Back then, I'm like, man, I can't watch that stuff, man, because then I'm gonna go out and I'm angry now.
Gonna feel some type of way. You're gonna
I
carry
feel
that
some type
energy
of way. And
outside. Yeah.
then these kids with phones and everything like that, where it's hard to monitor. You know what I mean? Because friends send somebody to this, and some friend, it's a chain thing, and then they see it, and it's like, why that white person kill that person? That's the reason. Now I don't. You know what I mean? Like
mm.
it's
But I
it's
think on
tough,
that
man.
I think on that aspect, it's sort of this like you got like the best way I can put it is do breadcrumbs. So like mine are younger, younger than everybody else's, and so I just do breadcrumbs. So like stuff that they should know or what's the name, I just leave little breadcrumbs. So if I come back later as they get older, I can come back. Remember I told you this? Yeah, this is why. Just so they understand. So like I don't.
You're
My
starting them
parents was,
early, which is good. You're
but
getting them, but you're not.
I'm
You're
not.
piecing it
I
to them.
don't want.
Yeah, you
My
want
parents
to
never took
overwhelm
my
them.
innocence away. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So they made me aware of what it was, but like they never said like, "Hey, you gotta." The only time I had to talk like that was when I had to go to I visited my uncle in Louisville, and they were just like, "Look, it's different. PA is different than Louis. Like you know what I mean? Like you in Kentucky,
South.
it's different." And
Yeah.
I was like,
You're in
"All
the
right."
deep south.
So,
You're in the
but
deep south.
like with my kids, like I do the breadcrumbs. Like, all right, I'll tell them a little bit here, a little bit there. As they get older, now Trey is older. This is my oldest. He's 11. I can have conversations with him. I can
Mm-hmm.
tell him exactly what's going on. But my younger two is just like, all right, man, I'll just plant this here. We'll come back to it. You know.
Yeah, but I
So
think I'm talking like I'm talking about those kids in the inner city and those those communities where things are not taught to them by parents. You know what I mean? I'm
They're
talking
no, I
learning
about
on the
know.
street.
Yeah,
They're
I'm
yeah,
learning
no,
on
talking
the
about
street.
yeah,
Joe.
yeah,
I'm talking
yeah,
about those ones because
yeah, yeah.
that's
The
you
streets is
know
raising them.
right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difficult part because
How do
I
you
don't
reach
think
them?
they're gonna. It's. I don't think they're gonna talk because they say they're gonna witness so much and they're gonna have so much hate. They're just gonna
Hate,
burst out.
fear, like,
Yeah.
and they're walking. I mean, like you just said, you touched on a great point. These kids in these inner cities, they're walking around with guns at 13.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
It's
Because
just,
they're afraid.
And
You know.
this is another question that I have. Remember I asked this a couple episodes ago about the 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 kid that grows up in the inner city who's white
Mm-hmm.
versus the white kid who grows up in the suburbs, and
Yeah, the difference. Yeah,
how
yeah.
the white kid in the inner city gets accepted in the black community versus the white kid
To a extent.
Yeah,
Yeah. To a certain
versus the
extent.
white
Yeah.
kid who grows up in the
in the suburbs.
suburbia. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Now here you have a situation where the white kid is in the inner city. Now is the black community going to look at him a certain way because of the color of his skin, and they're going to say, "Oh well, you white, so
But
you
not
can
maybe not in his
understand."
community because he grew up with him.
No,
Like,
but you gotta watch an old.
outside.
You gotta watch an old movie called Zebrahead. You ever watch a movie called Zebrahead
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
back in the
mm-hmm.
day with that Jewish? I forgot that Jewish guy, Remy from
I know what you're talking about. I remember. I remember
Michael
Maya
that
Learning.
movie.
Rappaport.
that.
You talking
Huh?
about
Michael
Michael
Rappaport.
Rappaport?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
never watched
Mm-hmm,
that.
He
mm-hmm,
dated a black girl. He grew up in in the black community, but at a certain extent, he
mm-hmm.
still couldn't understand the troubles and the
Right.
Yeah,
certain.
the oppression today.
But
Yeah, yeah.
we're not talking about that
So
part. We're just
they
talking about
accepted
somebody who
him.
lives in
They
the black community.
but they remember they accepted him, but
Right.
it was to a certain point.
Yeah, but
But again, here's this, but we're talking about something. I don't want to get off the subject because I want to give you the
Mhm.
respect for what you're saying. But all I want you to understand is there's the different concepts for different. I guess there's different strokes for different folks. You get what I'm saying? You got people that are in the inner city that live in the inner city, like New York and LA and Chicago, that been brought up and live in the
Philly.
inner city, and this is what they know. Like when we talked about the N word, and this is what we said about this, and we talk about this because I want people to understand, because the people that are listening, they don't understand, and this is what we have to understand. This is why I want you guys to realize the education portion of this is important, because if they don't understand, and I say they as generalization because it's bigger than this,
Talking
but
about the
they
people. Are you
meaning.
talking about if a white person grew up in the city?
Yeah, if a white person grew up in the city and he lived in the hood, right? We're just going to use it just as a generalization, the hood, and it's a majority of brown and black folk in the hood, and he's the white kid, and now we have a situation like this that just happened. Do you think he's going to get pointed out in the hood and say, "Oh, well, because you're white, so now we're going to sit here and he's going to get shunned upon. He's going to be the leper"?
Yeah, because if a situation,
I wouldn't think that. I wouldn't.
If a situation happened, if we all together and this white kid grew up with us in the hood, and we all get in trouble, and he go out and start acting all crazy, we all gonna say, "Yo, chill," because what you're doing, we're gonna get it, not you.
Yeah. They're gonna come here and grab us and let you
so
go.
We're gonna be like,
yo,
chill. We're gonna be like, yo, chill, like, dog, like, you know what I mean, like,
right.
I don't think.
Chill, you know what I mean?
But if he dresses,
or were you trying?
No. But I'm just saying.
I'm just trying to figure out your question. Was your question like, something happens like what happened in Kenosha, and he's going to be shunned by his friends because of his ethnicity? Is that what you're saying, or
no? I'm saying what I'm trying to make you understand is like this is because a lot of people don't understand the question that gets aroused is how do I understand brown and black ethics or brown and black generalizations, because they have no idea how it is that we think.
What you mean
right?
brown and black?
They don't. Because we have a way of how we talk and how we think and how we in our own circles talk and how we
our upbringing, how we view things.
Our upbringing, exactly.
Yeah.
Black and Hispanics, I mean, we're pretty much the same.
That's what he's saying, brown and black. He's saying that we grow up a certain way with certain thoughts.
So when you have a situation like this and you have somebody that's trying to say, okay, well, I want to understand how you guys get how this comes together, and I want to be able to help y'all. This is what I want to understand. So if this white kid that walked in the streets with this AR-15 isn't for me, I have no idea why he was able to. He's still on his feet. They should have shot this dude on sight.
Now they was getting him high fives and water.
They should have shot this dude on sight like they would have shot anybody else on sight, or they should have bum rushed him and tackled him like.
Well, the good news is he's in police custody.
He's in police custody.
And he's been charged with person.
But had it been anybody else, all of us know that if it had been anybody else, we would have been.
Well, we know that.
I'm just saying everybody to go.
But that's another conversation. But I'm just saying. So to make a long story short, I want us to understand, because I want people to understand what we're talking about. We need to educate people how we as a people, black and brown people, have to make everybody else understand the thought processes of this. So when I see this example of a white kid that grows up in the inner city and we have this situation that happens, I don't think he's going to get looked upon as any other different than anybody else, because he grew up in the hood. Right?
Okay,
he's gonna be in
They're not gonna be like, "Oh, you're white. They're
gonna
get out of here."
Get the fuck out of here. No, they're not gonna look at him like that. They're gonna be like, they're gonna be like, you grew up with us. Like, how can you?
Yeah.
So there's a difference. You see what I'm saying? Versus the kid who grew up in suburbia. He's gonna be looked at a little bit different. Now the question is, why is that gonna be? You know what I'm saying?
Because the opportunities that he's had, like he's in the city, low income, you know.
Well, that's
kids in suburbia. They're like, oh, you've had everything.
Right. So you can't tell me you understand what's going on over here versus what's going on over there.
So
I just want to get a pushback on that, because poor is poor whether you're rural or urban.
Right.
There's a lot of rural areas that don't have the same joblessness and everything else, and it's because it's so far out in what's name. So
we're not talking so much, bro. We're talking about.
Let's go there. Go there, Greg. I want you to go there.
No. But I'm just saying, for what he's characterizing is that it's just only in certain neighborhoods and what's name, but it's across. You look across the United States. Your cities here, you're going to have
rural areas.
But it's also in rural areas. The same stuff affects all. And that I think America we're programmed to see black people unemployed, black people don't on welfare. The vast majority is white people that are on welfare and getting unemployment checks and doing all that. And because they're out in the rural, we don't see them. You know what I'm saying?
and also
Where
too,
the news is going to report what's going on in the city. They don't report what's going on in the mountains of whatever, West Virginia or what's the name. Like, so it becomes like you're fighting, as Frank said many times, you're fighting a narrative. So if you're fighting a narrative, it's
but that's
like
what I'm saying. They're
you
painting
can't
that
win unless
narrative
you.
for black people. Like they are not going to paint that on their own because most people in these rural areas are white. So they're not going to come out and say, well, in, sorry, Greg, Quakertown, this is that. No, in Philly, like these people are
But
doing this.
that's the perfect example because they use when they say Kensington, which is primarily white dominant, they say Philly. So
Yeah.
when you say Philly, you're like, all right, well, Philly's bad. No,
Yeah.
that's Kensington.
Yeah.
Like,
Or Fishtown.
yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But they put that as Philly. So when you hear Philly news, it's like
Exactly.
it's Philly and you think it's black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of saying Kensington and Fishtown, this is what happened.
Or Mayfair.
It's but
Yeah.
to get back to your point, Greg and E, I mean, yes, if a kid that live in the suburbs versus a kid in the inner city, the kid in the suburbs is going to they're going to look at him different because they don't know him. You know what I mean? Now, there's a difference between if a kid live in the suburbs and his parents, and say like his uncles or relatives lived in the city and he was going back and forth, he probably, as a white person, they're going to feel a certain way. They probably won't come around. They probably call or like say, hey, is it cool if I come around? You know what I mean? Because of what the situation just happened. But at the end of the day, I mean, everybody, regardless if you have a heart or whatever, but when you see something like that, you're just gonna say, man, I just need time to myself right now. I just, you know what I mean? I just, like, I had a meeting today for work about the whole situation. And I skipped it because I didn't want to hear any, people's thoughts or anything like that because, my work is, primarily white. So I was just like, they don't understand. So I'm like, I can't sit here and listen to this. You know what I mean? So
Now, hold on. Do you feel like you could have then tried to explain something to them
there's no
like
point.
he said with the education? Like now, is
because
this where we take the opportunity to try to explain to them?
We've been trying to
how we
explain
feel,
to
how we feel.
we've been trying to explain to them for years, but they hear it, but they need to see it. That's the difference. That's the difference. Like we've been telling them for years, like stuff been going on, how we feel, and they just, even in the work environment, corporate America, stuff like that. Like now you want to have, trainings on how to promote within African American, how to promote them, make sure that they're comfortable on both ends. Like it's just.
Isn't that what we want? Don't we want them to try to understand and get educated on what is going on? Because you can't have change without.
But it's not about them being educated. It's about them just putting in.
It is about them being educated.
It's definitely about them being educated.
It's not about being educated. It's still not being educated because I'm not going to sit there. Hold on, I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to sit there and watch you advertise or send me emails or put up different things on on chain emails saying, "Oh, this is all black authors." Like I'm not going to. I'm not going to say
that's not.
That's where it's going. That's where it's going in the corporate America.
All right. So I have a question. That's where it's going. Let me. So what do you think, Frank? What do you think?
Hold on. Let Greg get out. What's up?
Nah, what I was gonna say, Frank, was just like you could have sparked an interest for them to learn, to take it upon themselves to go learn. So you could have gave them information that they might not have known and say, look, you don't have to believe me. Go fact check it. Like, you know what I mean? Go do your research. Give them that curiosity. Hope is he really? Yeah. Yo, wow, that's crazy. That's true. Hold on. What else is a lie? And that's how you get people to unravel their mind and go, wait a second. They like peeling the onion. They peel that first layer, but you got to peel that second. And I understand what you're saying. You don't want to hear like hey,
a Google search on black authors and then you just send that out. Yeah,
I get that. But I'm talking about you're more authentic than what somebody in your company is going to say. So when you tell them something and if they're actually viably wanting to listen, and they
They
actually want to
be
do the
invested.
work.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the person we're talking about that you want to reach, because that's the person that you never know down the line can help do something. We don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I get it. We shouldn't have to be everybody's teacher. You know what I'm
We should, I
saying?
mean,
Like, but
that's
at the same time, like if that will help save a life, you never know, and that might be something we might have to do just as
right.
people.
But
You know what I mean?
by me saying something or by me trying to educate them, it's not what is on my agenda. You know what I mean? By me
I
educating
got
them,
you. I got you.
they're not in a position to say, okay, you know, they're not in a position to stop that killing. You know what I mean? Like I
I didn't say
need
it was.
No, we're not
you
talking about
know,
now.
I was
right.
not saying it was.
So for me to sit there and listen to and hear, I don't know why this happened. Why, like, they already been taught and brainwashed a certain way. You know what I mean? And it's hard, like I said to you before, Greg, it's hard to unravel all that. You know what I mean? At this time, you know what I mean? Because they've been taught since they were little. You know what I mean? And it's hard to unravel all that. And I don't think, I don't know, man. We need a black, strong leader right now. That's what we need. By all this stuff opened up by all these different, charities and this and that, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. We try with Black Lives Matter. Look what that goes through. That turns
So
into
what is this
elemental
black
OP.
leader going
This
to
has
do?
to be a strong black militant leader. This has to be somebody that's educated, that you know, uh, PhD. Like this guy has to be like a Malcolm. It has to be to the point where we're gonna have to build our own community, our own systems, our own. Oh, he's in trouble or he's that. We sending people, African American people. Oh, you got a case? We sending them over there to help them fight this case. Oh, you got something going on in the community? We're going to stand around the community. Like we need stuff like that, man, because I think too many people got their hands into the Black Lives Matter and the whole NCA whatever P thing, and it's
NCAA.
I think it's too many. Yeah, it's too many hands in there, man. It's too many hands in there.
I think I know what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying, because again, like it's your point is valid. What you're saying is because it comes from a place of like frustration. You know what I mean? You're frustrated with the whole outcome of it all because there hasn't been a change, right? That's what we're saying. We haven't seen nothing. Nothing has changed. Nothing has, for so many years, nothing has happened, right? It's been the same old song and dance. We've been tap dancing through the same bullshit for so many years, and now people are still getting shot. African Americans are still getting killed. White cops are still getting away with murder, so on and so forth. But what Greg is saying is we have to understand at some point it has to come from within the household. We gotta think about, like, we have to understand that something has to come in. So the opportunity.
What you mean by household? Like, what do you mean by?
I say that as a generalization. So, for example, like when he said, you have an opportunity to educate other folk that don't know, and that's what I'm trying to explain to other people. Like I'm always constantly listen. I walk into households on a daily basis that are African American households every day.
Yeah, I know.
Every day, people look at me and they think I'm white.
Right.
Period. Right. They don't know that I'm Latino. They don't know that until they hear me. They don't know nothing about me. But I know everything about them. They don't know nothing about me. They see my face. I'm white, skin white. They look at my family. They don't know that I'm Latino. They don't know that. But again, until I start talking with them and they start understanding, it's about relations. We have to be able to relate to people. Greg told me the other day, he said he got pulled over by the cop on the road the other day. He was speeding, right? Cop was white. Greg is a black man getting pulled over by a white cop, right? Anything could have happened in that particular moment. Greg could have did something, could have sparked something where the cop could have drawn his pistol, right? Mm-hmm. Why is that? Because he's a black man in the car and there's a white cop pulling him over. Greg was speeding. He knew he was speeding. He knew he was speeding. Greg knew that. He had his paperwork in his hand. He showed the cop what he was doing. The cop said, "You know why I speed? You know why I stopped you? I know why, because y'all was speeding." He cooperated with the officer. Nonetheless, it could have went either way. But the fact is, if you comply, you do what you're supposed to do, you're fine. But that's regardless. If you have an opportunity to be able to talk to people and explain to people what the way things could be and how you can make a difference and change certain outcomes of
you can't talk to a white supremacist. You can't talk.
I'm not
to those
saying
types,
that.
you're right.
But that's I got one right here.
Right, but that's the whole. But that's the whole.
I can't make that dude think.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's the whole agenda. That's the whole agenda.
Look, you're right. There's some people you can work with, and there's some people that you can't. You're right. I ain't even gonna sit here and knock you for that. You're right. You're just 100% with that. I ain't even gonna like. You're right. This almost like banging your head on the wall.
I agree.
But you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. Talking to like Joe or somebody that doesn't know
that wants to work. Right. That wants to build.
But the situation that we're dealing with right now, like it's like talking to a white wall because that white supremacist group and their agenda and however that those tree vines go into the United States or wherever it goes, those are the people we're not going to reach. And those are the people not going to be educated because we could educate somebody, our next neighbor, a cop, we hear the next day, a cop kills somebody else. It's like, you know what I mean? And where do you
this is where you have to go think about what I said earlier. We have to reach the ones that are willing to listen.
And we also gotta remember you can't paint with broad brushes because a lot of people don't even have interactions. A lot of times, ignorance and fear are what is mainly, and lack of knowledge is mainly what it is until they actually meet somebody of different ethnicity. So if they never met a person that's Latino, if they never met a person that's black, if they never met a person that's Indian, they never met a person that's Native American, they never met. So until they do, and they go, oh man, everything I thought or my preconceived notion or I was taught was wrong. And that's the stuff that most people actually, if you ever meet those people, that's a battle that they have to go through because they were raised one way, and then at a certain point they're looking at it like, man, they have to reconcile about what they were taught, So, I mean, I get what you're saying, Frank, because if you actually meet them, you're not really going to talk to them. You know what I'm saying? Because once you know, me personally, I'd rather know that's how you are. Because then, hey, man, you don't have to talk to me. I ain't going to talk. We good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Right. We keep it pushing.
Respect each other's differences. That's cool. I ain't got no problem with you. I ain't got no problem with you.
It's okay to be different. It's not okay because we are different for any harm to come to that person. So just because your views is different than mine, your color, your skin is different than mine, doesn't mean you're better than me. It doesn't mean your life is worth more than mine. Like
we're gonna have to put fear in them. They putting fear in us. We got to put fear in them.
And that's the thing. Like they're putting fear in us as grown men, and they're putting fear in our kids. So our kids is now growing up with that fear. See a cop, like, we gotta stand up, like, oh man, and you can have all the paperwork. Like Greg got pulled over, he had all his paperwork. Philando Castillo had his paperwork and got shot and killed. And we don't know why they pulled the guy in Minnesota who had the gun in the car, and he told the cops. He was straight up with them, like, hey, I have a gun, I have a license to carry. Cops asked him to reach for the license, and they shoot him.
Like those are the things that you can't explain. Those are the things
that's
where
what I'm saying.
And that's where I get frustrated because where you sit there and you say, and I'm not mad at you guys, but I'm saying like I just don't understand like how do you educate that? There's no way to educate that. You know what I mean? That's why you can't. That's where I get frustrated because it's like you can't like that household of that person. Or what? I don't know. There's like I said. There's so many agendas that's out there. Like
let-
it's just hard to explain. I don't want to
let-
get
Right.
into
No,
it.
you're right.
let-
You're absolutely right about that. That particular point that you made right there, Frank, is undeniably true. I can't sit here. I don't have an answer for that because
Right. Like
you don't know. You don't know. You do not know. There is no explanation. There is no except that you have to have ultimate faith in that God is going to do something to be able to help to bring knowledge to people, because that's the only thing. That's the only thing you have left. At that point, it's got to be. You just got to pray that the Almighty, the higher power at this point, has to be able to intervene and say, "Look, someone is going to come in."
Dog,
and
like
say,
I swear, like if something happened to Greg, like I don't know, like
right, I get you.
I
Like anybody of
wouldn't,
my brothers right here, like same thing.
I wouldn't be any good, dog. Like I would.
Yeah, I wouldn't like.
Right, we
And I know, and I
be
know,
we all be ready to
right,
pop
and I
back and ready
know,
to shoot. Right.
right, and I know Greg, and I know how he'll talk to the cops, and it's like,
He's not threatening. He's not.
yeah, like
Mhm.
what, like
There was no
I don't know,
reason.
man.
Just because he has the right to ask you, "Hey, why did you pull me over?"
Yeah,
He has the right to question you.
Yeah.
Just because you have that badge and that uniform on doesn't give you the power over me as a human being. Like if I'm doing something wrong, you were speeding. Okay, that's fine. Greg can say, "Well, I was with another car. Why you ain't pulled them up?" He's allowed to say that.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't give this cop a right. Well, shut up. Like no,
It's
like
not,
that doesn't. You know, that's supposed to be held to a higher court. You know,
But that brings me to my point. I was going to say this when we were talking about the NBA, but I'll say it now. To me, I've always felt that if you look at other countries as far as their police training, it's like some of them, minimum 2 years, most 3 to 4. And if you look at American training, it's about 9 months, less than a year.
Yeah.
Like think about that.
and not
Like,
even
you know
that.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
like a doctor takes 8 years, they have life and death in their hands. And think about a police officer's job. They get called to everything. And they hold life and death in their hands. So to me, it's one of those things where there's nothing we could do about the police on the street right now. But the new recruits coming in and everything, because they always bringing in new recruits. That should be a 4-year program, man. That should be like a degree. That should be like
they getting in there,
police reform.
Yeah,
they getting in there. They getting in there, man.
But hold on, but Frank, but this is what I'm trying to say, because you could be conditioned one way, but then like, say your training was you just training in one area. So say it's Pennsylvania, right?
Mm-hmm.
They said to them, you in rural Pennsylvania. They're like, no, we want you to go train in Philadelphia. We want you to live in this area or this predominantly black. We want you to understand this area. Then they move you to. So all year, like it's ways to do it where you get somebody you can fix somebody's mind.
Well, that's
bro.
a normal
like,
cop.
like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a normal cop.
You can fix somebody, even if somebody came from a white. You can fix it. You can
But
do
it. That's a normal cop, though. That's a normal cop, but not a white supremacy cop. You're not gonna find those until something happens.
All right, if you're right, I understand. But what I'm saying is, if a program's long enough, you'll weed out the ones that shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, because they ain't going to go through all that. They're going to like, man, I'm done with this. Yeah.
No, those KKK people back in the day, they was camping, and they would camp for you. They're lawyers, doctors, teachers. They know how to. They know.
Well,
they're
gonna always be in every. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, they know how to stick up. But I mean, I do agree onto like the new reform program of new cops.
Yeah.
For for a regular cop, yeah, I agree with that because it should be the same as a doctor. You have your life, you have somebody's life at your hands. You know what I mean? But this whole agenda thing, it's like I said, it's going to have to come. It's going to be militant. It's going to have to.
Now
it's going to have to.
Now, one thing I heard is suggestion is taking the guns away and giving them rubber bullets. The cops. Don't give them that lethal weapon.
But what's the difference between you stopping somebody that has bullets and you have a rubber gun? So now, if I have a gun and I shoot you, it's going to be reversed.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, most people are not Like for instance, they're not pulling their guns out to shoot cops.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
this guy wasn't pulling a gun out to shoot a cop. I mean, you have bad apples everywhere. But most of these cases, these are just cops just taking it into because they're fear for their life or whatever.
And all that.
The guy in the ladder, Rashard Brooks, he fought his way off. He didn't have a gun, but they shot him in his back and killed him. Now, those are rubber bullets, but they just knocked him down. You know what I'm saying? And they would have been able to detain him.
Yeah, but what they're going to do is reverse that. They're going to find somebody or get somebody to volunteer and say, hey, shoot this cop with regular bullets. Yeah. Shoot this cop with regular bullets, and so we can
switch it back around.
That's always going to happen.
Change it back.
I mean, it's just we need something strong and militant, man. It's enough, man.
No, I agree. I mean,
we need a stand.
Yeah, I mean, so that we can. So we can keep this thing under.
You see Malcolm X movie with Spike Lee when that cop said it's too much power for one man.
Yeah, now it is. So we keep it under an hour. Let's just end with, because I mean, if we go into the NBA boycott, we'll be there for another hour on our thoughts and views. We'll because this isn't something that's gonna go away. We'll talk about that next week and get our views on that. But to try to end it on something a little light or whatever. I mean, E, did you have something you wanted to spew? Is there any trending topic, like 5 minutes we can probably get on to end it something light? Not trying to make light of the situation, man, but I don't want to
great.
Such a dark part podcast.
Y'all watch Lovecraft yet?
Nah, it's on my list. It's on my list.
Oh my,
Is that good? Lovecraft.
Yo, the second episode is literally reality. Like the way he did that.
Right, don't tell it. Don't tell it.
Oh my god.
All right,
what's it called? Say the watch.
Lovecraft Country is on HBO. It's a new series.
Dog, just watch that. That second episode. Watch that second episode. You watch that second episode.
All right, Frank, real quick, Frank. Tell a quick summary of what it's about. Don't go into detail. Yeah.
So, Lovecraft.
Who's acting in it?
Man.
Who's in it? Who's acting in it?
I took my headphones off so I couldn't hear.
No. It's I don't know the chick's name, but you've seen her in movies. The light skinned girl from I don't even know.
Hold on, we can look it up. Hold on, let me see. Look.
I forgot her name, but
it's Joe not here, but we got.
You see some actors in there that but I can't.
HBO?
Off the top of my head, yeah, it's on HBO.
All right, I have to look
it's
it up.
like a horror, like.
Oh yeah. Her name is Jermie Smollett.
Yeah. Her
Jesse. Jesse Smollett.
Yeah, I think her sister. She played in like the Tyler Perry movie E, where she
Temptation.
Yeah, Temptations. The light skin.
Yeah.
The light skin.
And the great debaters.
She played the roll bounce with Bow Wow.
And great debaters.
Okay.
But it's
like roll bounce.
Yeah, it's like a horror, like. It's kind of like Get Out. It's kind of like Get Out. So if you like Get Out, you seen Get Out, right?
Roll bounce.
You seen Get Out, right?
Omar in it too. E from The Wire.
Oh
Michael
K.
Williams. Yeah, Michael K. Williams in it.
Yeah, it's like Get Out.
Okay.
Very educational.
All right. Okay.
Very educational.
Yeah. Courtney B. Vance. He played on some black dude. He played on some stuff I've seen.
That's
Jonathan Majors.
A lot of shows.
Yeah.
That's Angela Bassett's husband.
Okay. Jonathan Majors. I don't know.
That drawing good, man.
Yeah, he played on that movie that's on Netflix, The Five Bloods, White Boy Rick. Yeah, so it looks like a good cast, man.
That's pretty good.
All right, Lovecraft on HBO. That's on my list, man. I just haven't had time.
I've been watching. We've been watching Queen of the South, so we've been rolling through that.
That's bomb. That's a bomb show.
I told him that's wrong. I told Frank he got to get back into it. E. You caught up? E, you on the most recent season?
I'm on it.
Was she down in?
Yo,
I ain't saying that, man. I ain't saying that, bro. I just say when she down, bro. You don't know what that down is. You don't know where that's at, bro. I'm caught up, man. Frank, you need to catch up, bro.
I don't know if I can get
for the
back
new
into
season.
it.
You can, bro. You can. Huh?
You're good, man. You got to binge watch it. You can binge watch the whole season. You be good.
No, I watched the first season, and then it was just like
The second season was but they picked back up in the third and the fourth. I think it was 4 seasons now. It's about to be on the 5th or something like
Queen of
that.
the South.
But
4
yo,
or 5.
4 or 5.
I definitely got to go to Medellin though.
Oh, no, we don't want to go out there, man.
I got to go out there.
All right, man.
That's another episode.
Yeah, right.
We're not talking about that.
I just want to go. I just want to go out there.
Desired destinations. That's what we
I gotta go to Medellin.
But
I need to go back. We need to go to India. That's what we need to go.
They let us.
All right, man.
Need to go.
So we all right.
We need to go to India.
Let's you know. And I say this, I know I say this every episode. You know, first of all, I want to thank everybody who's listened to the podcast, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. But I really mean this, man. And if anything from Tuesday and 2020 has showed us is, man, you know, when I tell and I say to you guys, have a good, blessed week, man, I truly mean that, man. I know we talk, you know, throughout the week, Frank, me and you back in the gym, you know, we talk on the group chat and stuff like that, so we see each other. But you know, you guys truly be safe out here, man, because, you know, you wake up one morning, think you're going to go to work, come home, and you know, you never know, man. So, y'all stay blessed, man.
That's it.
It's the Men on the Podcast, y'all. Signing out.